with the Patriots, I think you were saying they were third right now for the draft order. If they end up there at 3, so season ends now, what do the Patriots do? What do you hope they do? And
Trade out of the first round. That's what they're gonna do because Belichick's an asshole.
hey, they can trade that first for Kyler Murray.
God, please don't.
No, I, I,
So
I do think if you guys did get Caleb Williams, you would have that buyback again, where it's like, oh, this is why we're gonna play for the Patriots. So
Yeah,
that could help you out.
that's what I'm hoping. I mean, I'd love to get Caleb Williams. Maybe I would. Bill needs to do something legendary. Do something that these other teams that have been doing recently that are starting to get better. Like the Lions are buying in like a bunch of first round picks, but they've also got some, but they're now giving some. The same thing with the Texans. They got some, but now they're giving some, and they're getting making better moves and trading up and getting actually good players. Like, don't look at these schools that played 4 snaps of Division 5 football for Northeast West Seattle Community College of Eastern Illinois. That
well,
dude looks very coachable. We'll
it's
take
it's
him
a
at number 3. Get
it's a
the
lot
fuck
different
out of here,
now.
dude.
Social media is so big. You don't have people that are like gems really anymore. Like if you're good, you'll pop up and people will see that. And you're seeing that with the transfer portal. Those guys that are good that are at those schools that you could get before, they're getting those transfers to the
Mm-hmm.
bigger colleges that they wanted to be in. Um, and in the NFL, like you still get them every year. Like that's still one of the crucial things, hitting on those third, fourth, fifth round picks to help your team. But
Yeah, but you can still
like
find
you
those guys at
have
bigger
to hit those
schools.
first round picks, or you're going to be behind. Like you
Well,
have to hit on your first round picks easier. Like when you hit miss multiple times in a row, and it's been like half a decade at this point of
Coach.
just failed first round pick after failed first round pick, you're putting yourself at a big disadvantage because that's premium talent that you have to get put on your roster that shouldn't be risks. They should be like home run hitters, and if not even like Hall of Fame players, you're just talking about like legitimate starters. That's what you should want every first round pick to be.
Not
yeah.
Bill.
Um,
Well,
but Dylan, you were saying the draft class right now, right?
yeah.
Or like the
This draft
drafting.
class, like I've, oh yeah, I'll kind of give an
Yeah.
asterisk. This class and the next class are gonna really change the NFL. I think more than what we've seen in the last couple ones because the list of quarterbacks out there right now, the list of wide receivers out there right now are, I think, just crazy. Plus, you have legitimate offensive linemen coming out as well. You have really great edge rushers as well, just like any other draft. But the quarterbacks coming out, you got obviously you got Caleb Williams. Drake May has been super hyped. He's playing really well. But you got a lot of other players. Shadur Sanders in the next year or two is going to be coming out. He's decent. You got Bo Nix. You got Michael Penix. You got Cam
Mhm.
Ward. Jaden Daniels is looking like a decent quarterback for LSU as far as mobility goes.
Spencer
Um,
Rattler's always had
Spencer
talent.
Spencer Rattler,
We'll see how he
Travis,
does.
or it's not Travis Hunter, it's Hunter Travis or something like that. The guy
Travis
out of
Hunter.
no, the quarterback out of Florida
Oh.
State.
Oh,
Oh,
I know
It's
exactly what you're
Travis
talking about.
something, and then I mean
Jordan.
Jordan
Jordan
Travis,
Travis.
yeah. Then you have people like Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss who's starting to heat up. You still have Quinn Ewers out there. JJ McCarthy, I think he's going to be interesting for a lot of teams as well. There's just a lot more high ceiling types of quarterbacks because usually you get like a random Mahomes or a random Anthony Richardson that can throw the ball a million miles, but it feels like all these guys, Penix, Williams, May, Ewers, like all these guys can chuck the ball 70 yards down the field. They can.
Joe Milton. Did you say him?
Well, also him, yeah. Joe Milton
Yeah,
also
that's
has a
right.
huge
He's
arm.
one of the best dudes that could do it.
Yeah. So like,
Dude's
whether they
arm
come
is
out this year or
massive.
next year, like this draft, like these quarterbacks coming out are unreal, and it's gonna shake up a lot of teams because there's gonna be quarterbacks that are good that are gonna be moved away from because they're not Caleb Williams, they're not Drake May, they're not so and so. So, but that
The
kind of brings
Patriots need to draft one.
that kind of brings us to one thing that I was going to ask you guys about because these high ceiling guys are fun to look at and be like, ooh, what if? But the guy
Oh,
that's taking
yes.
over the NFL is Brock Purdy. And I brought up this tweet here. I don't know if I'm showing it to you guys.
You are.
But basically, what it says is Brock Purdy for his first part of the season, his passer rating is number one, his win percentage is number
Yep.
one, pass touchdown to interception ratio number one, and his interception percentage is also number one. And so
System.
system, okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
There's got to be a mix there, though, right? Like
I
there's a
think it's a
mix.
very good mix.
Yeah, I think Brock Purdy is an example of a team limiting him during college that he eventually came to, find the right system and then just learn everything he can, make all the throws that he can, and
Hmm.
just be valuable to a team that way. And it's crazy, but Brock Purdy has not lost a game that he's finished as the quarterback, or as far as started and finished. Maybe he came in for one, but Brock Purdy doesn't lose, and we haven't seen this since Tom Brady.
Brady.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that's what I was gonna bring up. Like Tom Brady is not the best quarterback to ever play football. He's the greatest. He won games. He
Mhm.
figured out ways to win games. He didn't have the best arm. Wasn't the quickest. He wasn't the biggest. He didn't have the prettiest throw. It didn't. He just did what he had to do to win, and that's what Brock Purdy's doing right now.
yeah.
I should say I think it's kind of disrespectful to compare him to Tom Brady. Like to Tom Brady, like you can't really compare people to like that. But I
This
mean,
to me is just like a making of a franchise quarterback, and I think they will win the Super Bowl this year. I think that's a very legitimate thing right now. They have the best defense, or at least one of the top five defenses, and they have one of the most consistently like high scoring offenses that we've seen. They just took apart the Cowboys, where they apparently had the best defense until this week. So
well, they've also got a coach that's creative and is finding ways to get those best players the ball
yeah.
week in
Um,
week out.
this kind of ties in a little bit with the Patriots, but your favorite guys ever, what's his face from the Jets? He's talking
Zach,
about, huh?
Zach Wilson,
No, the coach that has gray hair, likes feet, and now he's just talking.
Rex Ryan.
Rex Ryan, yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's saying if Mac Jones was in San Francisco, he would be playing like Brock Purdy. And it's just not true. Like,
No.
people just they just think
Not
that because
necessarily.
Brock Purdy can't do the Mahomes and do the
He did that stuff in college. Has anyone even watched any of his college tape? He literally would make crazy like acrobatic throws too. Like
Brock Purdy,
yeah. Patrick Mahomes isn't the first
yeah,
person to ever do this.
for real.
God,
But
people need to hop off that dude's wiener, bro. I swear.
I mean, he is pretty
would you
dang good. Let's
say
be real.
I know he is, but like Brock Purdy could do. He did the exact same thing at Iowa State. He literally was completely parallel with the ground and still chucked it and hit the receiver. Oh wow!
Brock Purdy. We just
the
talked
first
about
one.
it with Mac Jones and the Patriots, and then the Panthers with C.J. Stroud. It's situation. Like, is Brock Purdy the most elite quarterback? No, but he is
No.
put in a good
He is.
situation. He's
Yes,
got
but he's
people
also
around him.
good.
He's being coached well around him, and believe it or not, he understands who he is. He's living within his means. He knows what he needs to do to win, and he's not going out of his way to try to like, oh look, I'm better than you. He's doing what he needs to do, and
Yeah.
he balls out.
If you watched the game last night and during the third quarter, for like 8 minutes of the third quarter, just game time, which we know takes like an hour and a half to get through, they just talked about Brad Purdy just stays in his lane. He knows he's not the biggest guy. He knows he's not the strongest guy. Yeah, you said that 5 times already. God,
Well,
but yes,
I think
that is what he
people
does.
are just like they see the Shanahan system, and it's good. Shanahan's a great offensive coordinator, like great. I think everyone recognizes that. But Brock Purdy, one, he has the ability to make the throws that Shanahan wants him to make, but he also has the ability to lead a locker room. He has the ability to get people to play for him and be excited to have him as his quarterback, and be
And
able to say, this is the guy over the first round draft pick that we traded 3 picks for. This is the guy over Jimmy Garoppolo who has brought us to a Super Bowl already. They chose Brock Purdy as a team, and I think that's to me the greatest thing as a quarterback that you could ask for.
And 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 this is just another thing with how flawed our quarterback scouting thing is. Brock Purdy has something that you cannot see on tape, or like you can see it on tape because he does it every week, but you can't like put it into a setting. You can't put it into like a stat. He can read defenses. He understands the football game. And you can take
Mhm.
all these tests. You can say, like, this guy played really good in college. He's got all the arm talent in the world. He's got all this. But if you can't function and read a defense or play within game speed, like there's people that are practice heroes that are just incredible. And the second you put them into a game, have no idea what's going on. And then you've got people that just look like garbage in practice, but as soon as you put them in a game, they're just smarter and better than everyone else. And that's in every single sport, and that's something he's got. That's
Yeah.
not something you can take away or like say like, oh, if you put anyone in there, he could do it. Well, maybe not, because maybe he understands that offense just as good as Kyle Shanahan does. Maybe that's why he's so good.
Well, watch we post this video and like the rest of the year, the the Niners just lose and Brock Purdy is just complete
Works.
trash. But no,
Dude,
I wanted to also bring up a few other
I'd
things.
shave my head bald.
I got the Detroit Lions up here. Kind of just a simple tweet saying that the Lions won again, but the Detroit Lions are 4-1, just as everyone expected them to. They beat
Legends.
the Chiefs.
That's what everyone wanted.
Yeah, I think their only loss was to the Seahawks, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. In
Yeah.
And that was
overtime.
an overtime game.
Yeah,
That should have been called back because
yeah.
Hutchinson was getting yanked.
I mean,
When was he?
if there was a sophomore of the year, that would be Aiden Hutchinson. I think he not going to the Jaguars is the greatest thing for me, but the worst thing for the Jaguars that I've ever seen, and I love it.
I wonder if there was something in there, like he just wanted to go to Detroit,
There could
and,
be,
and
Yeah.
the Jags were just like, because we saw it when we were doing like our scouting, we were talking about it, like Trayvon's big and athletic, but he's never like
It's a what
done
if.
anything on field. It's a big
Yeah.
what if. Like you knew what Hutchinson was going to be. We all knew it. Everyone said it, and yet he still just wasn't picked.
Well, another one here too that we can kind of talk about as well, unless we have anything else to talk about the Detroit Lions.
Uh, Jared Goff playing really well. Give him his flowers. He was crapped on, and the Rams situation was traded away with picks just to get him out of town. And it's not often you see trades that both teams succeed from,
Yeah,
but that's a good situation where it's at. And I think it's been good for his mental health too. You know, getting somewhere where he can just be himself.
yeah.
Like I can be confident and be okay with being confident.
Well,
He
the
doesn't have
other,
to fit that LA style of being like flashy. He can just be
yeah.
Jared Goff.
Well, and the other thing too about the Lions this year is I do want to congratulate them on not forcing the hand on Jameer Gibbs. I mean, he was injured this week, but he also hasn't been like the workhorse that we knew he wasn't. But I feel like they're just building up what their offense is right now, and that's going to come later on the line. And I think it's really weird that all these people that are just fantasy GMs are just trying to clown the Lions for like not force feeding Jameer Gibbs the ball. Like he does make some good plays and stuff like that, but I mean he doesn't have a big workload and he's right now injured. So I'm not saying that he's injury prone, but like why if everything's working and you're 4-1, why are we gonna put Jameer Gibbs in a situation that he's probably not prepared for?
I will clown on them for this because you pass on Aaron Donald Jr. to
Well,
take a
okay,
running back that's a change of pace back.
That's a
And it's not like that's
That's
not known. They did that all last year. DeAndre Swift's an incredible running back, and they're like, no, he doesn't fit the way that we run the football. We're going to run Jamal Williams, and we'll throw in Swift there every now and then. Using your 8th overall pick for somebody that's like the 7th or 8th most important player on your offense, when you could have taken Jalen Carter
yeah.
and had Jalen Carter and Aiden Hutchinson next to each other.
I mean, if you were looking at on the paper, yes, I do think that there is I think there is warrant to like question whether or not you want to take a guy like that when he's had a rest, he's had some things, just come up. I don't fault teams for doing that. I like if it was just like there's nothing to worry about, then obviously that would be completely insane. But I do feel like if there was stuff like that happening, do you want to bring that into locker room even though he is that, dominant of an interior rusher? That the Eagles were willing to do that, but obviously not a lot of teams are willing to do that.
We do this every year. We overanalyze this stuff like it matters.
Yeah, but
No
we
NFL
had
GM cares about that.
the
The second
the
they go into
Titans
free agency,
drafted Isaiah Wynn in the first round, and then you went off the AWOL train and barely ever played for the Titans, and just completely.
but that was more that can happen to anybody.
Exactly.
His was like, could he go to jail because he was racing cars? He was racing cars as a college kid, and it ended badly, really badly.
Yes.
I'm not saying what he did wasn't good or like wasn't as bad as what it sounds, but like he was doing normal stupid
Yeah.
boy things.
And I'm not condemning him. I'm not convicting him of anything. I'm saying there are people that if you draft, even though their talent is great, they just it's just too much. And so I don't fault them as much. I don't think it was a clear cut and dry like, oh, this guy's
If it wasn't a draft class and these guys were all free agents and they did what they did in their college careers, there's no way that you're taking Jameer Gibbs over Jalen Carter. It's like it's for some reason we always overanalyze everything that these kids come in college from, and we like pick on that stuff. Like the NFL GMs care, like they don't care. They want to know if you play football and if you can play it well.
right.
And I think
But to a point though, you can't draft a player that has red flags and then him go off and have more run-ins with the law like a Henry Ruggs or something like that. I don't know if he had any NFL issues, but like I'm just saying, like I do think there is a warrant to like we are investing 4 to 5 years. We're investing multiple millions of dollars in this player. Obviously, the talent, yes, is great, but is this really the best thing that we could do for our locker room? I think their defensive line is fine as is, and for the next 4 to 5 years, they have a really solid running back. I think so. I don't think it's the worst thing ever. But they are 4-1. That's the kind of the biggest
is really
thing.
good.
They're 4-1. They're even without overutilizing their running back. They're 4-1. Things are going good in Detroit for the first time in a long time.
Who's next? Are we picking on? Who are we talking about next?
I was just going to talk about rookies in general. I have this one showing the passer rating versus man coverage. I think this was on October 3rd, so it's a little dated. But it had C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson number 1 in the NFL on man coverage. Obviously, rookies are going to face more and, that kind of thing. So,
yeah.
Kirk Cousins and Josh Allen are number 3 and 4. But Stroud and Richardson, when healthy, are looking like the best quarterbacks right now. There's also a few other rookies that are doing really hot. Puka Nacua, Devon Achane, however he wants to pronounce it.
A-Chain.
I like A-Chain, but I think it's Achane.
A-Chain sounds so much sicker. He should have left it.
And then Sam Laporta, Lions as well. Just looking really solid. Bijan Robinson obviously is super dope. Any other rookies you want to shout out? Any other rookies? I really like Josh Downs. He almost had 100 yards against the Titans. Zay Flowers is solid. He hasn't really broken out.
This isn't a good week to bring him up right now. We'll let Ravens fan move on from that one for a little bit, but he is going to be good.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
I do want to say Bryce Young. I think he's in a bad situation. I think he can play better, but he just hasn't shown much of it.
I will say we all talked about it, and people are saying like, oh, like CJ Stroud's in a better situation than Bryce Young.
Nuh-uh.
Dude, we talked about it. They were the same situation.
Texans
CJ Stroud is elevating that team,
Yeah.
and they're playing better.
Well,
Stroud
and Ben Slowick or whatever his name is, but no, the Texans had their third offensive tackle. Like they were going 2 and 3 deep on the offensive line for the last like 3 or 4 weeks. So no, Bryce Young has a harder situation because of his coaching. But as far as roster wise, no, the Texans were a worse roster this year.
Bryce Young has a harder situation because he's tiny.
Yeah.
Because he has to not only be better, but he has to over um he has to get over
Overcompensate.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you
Yep.
for it. And believe it or not, like people we talk about it's not like a big deal. It's not a big deal. I mean, it is a big deal when you're starting out. Like once you get established and you've got a system down and you're good, then yeah, obviously your size doesn't matter if you can ball. But when you're coming out and you're trying to figure all that stuff out, that's a difficult thing to do. And you're going to develop bad habits because he's going to be pressured constantly because he's going to have to move to be able to see. He's going to
Yeah.
I don't know. And
Well,
we are just big advocates for CJ Stroud. We all
yeah.
thought he was better.
I was probably the biggest advocate, unfortunately, now that he's with the Texans. But
Yeah.
I was really sold on Stroud. But I was gonna
Mikey
say,
was not going to let that pass. Mikey was talking shit on Bryce Young.
well,
Literally,
yeah, but like I feel like I
he was on
was.
Stroud.
Anyway, we were all big on
Dylan,
Stroud.
Dylan was like, man, I want Stroud.
Yes,
I want Stroud.
and I was able to have him, right.
Yeah.
Like we were potentially in that realm for most of the year. But
Yeah.
no, what I was going to say was also what I wanted to mention the rookie offensive tackles. Browns, you guys have, what's his face?
DeJuan Jones.
He's playing
done really, really, really well.
done really good. Broderick Jones for the Steelers has been doing really well. I want to say Blake Freeland, even though he's our backup, he played decent. I mean, had a rough going against Aaron Donald, but that was like a, hey, you're not
Shocker.
a starter, but this is your
Yeah.
first shot is against Aaron Donald. Sweet. But I want to say there's a few other offensive tackles that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head that have been playing really solid. Um, Jack Campbell.
Harrison
Oh yeah, Antoine Harrison
and Paris Johnson.
Yeah, Paris Johnson.
Is that this year?
for the Cardinals. Yeah,
Oh yeah, the Cardinals drafted him.
Yeah.
The one
Yeah.
didn't the Titans take one? Did we already mention it?
yeah. Peter
Yeah.
Skronsky, he's been injured
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit, but he's been
He's been-
solid. The Bears got what's his face out of Tennessee, Wright, Darnell Wright.
Yeah. I don't know if any of them are like Hall of Fame level, but they're all more than
Better
like,
than
they're
Evan
already
Neal.
already serviceable tackles in
Yeah.
the NFL.
Better than Evan Neal, and a few other tackles out
I
there.
don't know, dude. If you just give the other team Giants jerseys, Evan Neal might become elite. He'll be blocking everybody.
Well, I think that's about it for the kind of like the little notes. Other than, I wanted to ask you guys,